everybody, it's Alexa. Are you looking for motivation to make progress with decluttering? Well, I want to share 5 things I've discovered as I've made incredible progress in the last 2 years decluttering and rediscovering my house following the KonMari Method. Now, these are 5 things that you might find will help you get going on your journey or keep going, making progress. I discovered one of them accidentally as I was working on my garage/basement decluttering, and I got about half of it done. The garage side is repainted and reorganized, and you can see the before and after video on my channel. Well, I realized, what motivated this, because I personally work on sort of waves of motivation. I know there are people who say, you got to sit yourself down every day at a certain time and do a certain thing. Well, I'm just not that kind of a person, so as much as I'd like to be that way, I tend to sort of surf on waves of motivation, and that kind of works for me because I have a lot of interests. And so what I discover is that when I'm doing that, motivation will come, and then you're like, oh, what motivated this? Well, the first thing is exposure. And by exposure, I mean just ways to be inspired. That can be, magazine cutouts and things like that. But I found that with a basement, what got me going was that I went to visit some relatives who are doing pretty well in life, although, it's not incredible, but you know how families are. It's like somebody does badly, everybody, poops on them and says, oh, they're doing so badly, and somebody does really great and they all poop on them and say, oh, look at them, they're doing so great. Well, anyway, so that was sort of the mentality when we went to see them, was like, oh, let's see how great they're doing. And, they're just fine middle-class people, but nice house, nice neighborhood, etc. And I find that when I do go to my relatives' houses and they live in nice suburban, shiny, pretty areas, that for whatever reason gets me going. It also works when I go to see my parents, because my parents always have like a million projects going on in their house and their property, so that kind of gets the juices flowing, and then I get home and I start doing other things. So exposure, that's actually something also mentioned in The Artist's Way, and it's just about getting out there, in terms of art, exposure to art, going to museums, going to new stores, new shops. And, for those of us who are maybe self-employed or tend to live like shut-ins for whatever reason, moms, etc., it can really help to have a change of scenery and get out there. So use your peers, your family, or anything around you to inspire you, or even have an example of a vision of, oh, this particular house is the way I would like my house to be. You could also go to, I know people who have a lot of fun going to open homes in like developments, and they always have that show home. Personally, I'm not somebody who does that, but I know somebody who does it. It's really funny. He always takes pictures as if it's his own house, and they pretend to be taking a bath and things like that. But certainly you can look at how those things are built and kind of get ideas. Apartment therapy, another great place, and Pinterest, of course, another great place for inspiration. Well, so that's point number 1, exposure. Feed your motivation by exposing yourself to something that makes you excited to get home and declutter, say goodbye to stuff that you don't need that's clogging up all the sight lines of your house. Number 2, deadlines. Personally, deadlines are great for me. I mean, I hate them, but I love them because I really do work well with deadlines. I'm not a super, like I said, I'm very good with goals and deadlines, but maybe very regimented life in between those points doesn't tend to happen for me. There are people who are more planners, than I am, but I am a list maker, but I'm not so much of a planner. I tend to be a little bit more intuitive about how I get from point A to point B, but I like to know that the deadline is there, and I'm pretty good at meeting deadlines, especially when other people impose them on me. For clearing your house, decluttering your house, some deadlines can be having a party. That's always a great deadline for me. Going on vacation, that's a great one, because you know how it is. You want to clear out stuff before you leave so that you don't come home to, a mess. Sometimes there's things that you have to do because somebody's going to come, take care of your house or take care of your animals or whatever. And so, oh God, I got to fix this thing. I got to do that thing. And, that can be motivation to declutter. Here we are in July, but for whatever reason, I guess because we've had such a busy summer, I personally am already kind of ramping up for the school year with my kids, and just did some decluttering a few days ago in my kids' room, getting rid of stuff from last year's school year. And so the school year is a great deadline to get things going again. The fall, you know, fall always, I don't know, it feels like rebirth to me. It's a fun season. I like it. So that was number 2, deadlines. Number 3, before and after. You know, a really simple tip that I did even before I got on YouTube and started doing my KonMari journey was sometimes I would take a picture of a messy room, and then I would clean it and then take a picture of the result, and boom, before and after. So it's a really fun way to see the progress that you've made, see how things evolve. Personally, I don't go back and look at things that much. I don't even go back and look at videos that much, but it can be a fun way to figure out where you've been and how far you've come, and go ahead and, you know, put it on YouTube. You know, people are definitely finding inspiration and camaraderie as they go through these processes on YouTube. So you might find your own personal decluttering community, and there might be some wrinkle to what you're decluttering that nobody else has dealt with before. So go ahead and put your journey on YouTube and have fun with it. Number 4, goals. Again, this is sort of like deadlines, but you know, having goals really helps, and that's something that Marie Kondo says at the beginning of her book. You know, before you start the whole process that she recommends, you want to have a vision for where you're going. So she takes it very seriously, and I think that's a really nice way to approach it, because what she's trying to get you to think is this is not a constant battle, but it's a life change. And so in order to sort of embark on that life change, which is going to involve discarding like 75% of your possessions, maybe 50%, maybe only 25%, depending. But anyway, that life change is going to, you know, require a vision. Like, where do you think you're going? Of course, there may be surprises on the way, and you'll come to maybe a different result, but that's what a goal is for. So some examples of goals for decluttering could be, you know, places to study. Again, going back to a book that influenced me many, many years ago, about 15 years ago, so strongly, which was The Artist's Way. She talked about, you know, for example, this room is a perfect example. Giving yourself permission to have a room that's for you. Maybe that seems sort of more common nowadays, but for whatever reason, it was like mind-blowing for me when I first read it. Like, oh, I'm allowed to have a music room. And so think about it in that term. You know, there might be special purpose areas of your house that you're going to develop, you know, your music studio, your yoga studio, your massage studio, you know, something that you're going to, your home office, you know, all these things that could even turn into life change or money-making enterprise. Another thing is to try Air BnB. I have not achieved that yet, but I keep on running into people who are just like traveling the world, and, you know, not even like, I'm talking about people with small children or, you know, big families, and they are just having a blast renting out their house every time they go and take a trip. Actually, even just taking local trips, they're renting out their house. So I would like to get to that point, and so that's a goal. And then a point that I've really been kind of focused on this past year, I don't know if I'm going to achieve it, but refinancing. And so part of refinancing your house would be obviously having it show to its best advantage. And I always find it's funny when I get the mailers from local real estate agents, and they'll, you know, I remember I got one time that said, you know, we can redo your house like this, and they show the before and then they show the after, and they said, you know, so that it's ready to sell. And I just thought it was funny, because I was like, well, I mean, if you did that to my house, so it looked, you know, the floors are redone, you know, all these new counters, whatever it is. I'm like, why do I want to sell my house now? You just made my house look beautiful. So, you know, people who stage houses and declutter houses, they do that because people have an emotional response to that, and they go, oh, wow, I want to live here. So you could do that to your own living space. So that is a goal. And my final point that I wanted to make, final motivational tip, is the results. And you know, I always come back to this because I am such a firm believer now in the KonMari Method. The point of KonMari is to rediscover what makes you happy, to find and keep only those things that spark joy in you. And that's going to take some practice. So you're not going to be able to, you know, maybe eliminate everything in your basement, you know, the way I did on the first go. That was like after more than a year of doing the process. And I myself couldn't really believe how good I had gotten at letting go. And now I kind of look back and I can see, and you know, how many ways I tended not to let go of things. You know, silly things like pruning plants, pruning trees. You know, I let things get overgrown because I'm like, no, don't cut that. You know, and then you think about it, and you're like, it's gonna grow back. You know, it's not. And just like, you know, your stuff, you will have new stuff. You will get new stuff. And if that old stuff is no longer giving you joy, then get rid of it. So my point is, the results of decluttering are going to be fantastic. And especially fantastic if you are able to dive into the Marie Kondo method and only choose those things that spark joy. So if you don't already know, I've got lots of videos on this topic. There are many other videos. There are KonMari videos, but really the gist of it is you start with a vision, then you go by category, not by room. I did a meld of both. I did room and category because I was putting it all on YouTube, but you're going to want to start with your clothes, then your books, then your komono, which is your miscellaneous items, and I think finally your mementos. So you're going to go in that order because you're going to start with the easiest stuff, which is clothes, which changes all the time, then your information products, then all the little doohickeys you have around the house for your kitchen, your bathroom, your garage, your tools, all these different things, your garden, whatever, your pets. And then the final thing, the hardest thing, which is all of your diaries and photos and all the things from your entire life's accumulation. You're going to have the ability, having practiced through those categories, to eliminate those things and keep only the things that spark joy. So that just dovetails with so many philosophies, whether it's Zen, whether it's law of attraction, whether it's minimalism, whether it's gratitude, whether it's even financial philosophies like The Millionaire Next Door. That's a great book which I read recently. And you know, so many assumptions that we make about wealth have to do with conspicuous consumption, and that's not real. Those are advertising messages, and actually a lot of times wealthy people don't look very wealthy. So and the great insight from that book is, you know, the person who's driving the late model car, you know, and the person who has all the trappings is often a person who's deeply in debt, you know, and not a wealthy person. And the wealthy person is the one who's driving, you know, the 20-year-old car and living in the house that you know, they were raised in or whatever. So that all dovetails back to, you know, gratitude, sticking with what makes you happy and what works. So I hope all that helped you. I had a lot to tell you, so it just came bubbling out. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your late summer, very early fall decluttering. Bye.